It's Tuesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. White Gate in the building.
Yo. Good
Why
morning.
you
Good morning. I'm exceptionally tired today.
Why?
Very sleepy. I don't know. I think because I slept late. I don't know. Once the sun comes out, I don't know. I can't sleep again. Once I see the sun, it's very
like what,
difficult.
like 4 a.m.?
No. There's no sun at 4 a.m.
The sunrise, is it not done at 4
No, it's not 4. It's not. Maybe like 5:30.
It's done. It gets light about 6:30.
Yeah.
Why was I doing bed after 6:30?
Eh?
What you doing bed after 6:30?
If I sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Please, let's talk about your hair.
How you doing, YK?
As in, I love
You had a
it.
long weekend.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I finished my projects. Finished
Yeah.
and they performed with the live band on Friday, and it was really, a lot of people came. It was really nice. And the kids did so well, and I'm so proud of them. And I wish them all the luck.
Cool. How you doing,
And
Mariam?
when you start hearing their hits, tell you,
I was.
You
part
are
of
part of the process.
How you doing, Mariam?
Okay, can you make me a star? I'm fine. Would
you're
you?
already a star.
No.
Your
like,
view has made you a star. What's cancer?
Higher star, higher level.
Why?
Level
My star?
Yes, now. What are you talking about, please? How you doing, Jerry Mariam?
I'm fine. I'm just good. That's all.
Nothing? Okay.
That's all, nothing, yeah.
Talk where?
I'm selling markets. So I had a very interesting conversation with Mariah yesterday. So I do this my Money Monday series every Monday evening, and most of the time I'm always teaching. But in the past 3 months, I've been trying to interview a few people, and people actually asked that they wanted to hear me interview Mariah. Mariah doesn't believe it, but people, not 1, not 2, not 3. And we had a very amazing time. So in case you want to know some inside money ideas about Mariah, just go and watch on Facebook or Instagram on my page. And I'm sure you'll be enlightened. It was
Actually
really
enjoyed
good.
it.
It was really good.
I enjoyed it. I'm not very used to being interviewed, because I like to be on this side of controlling the conversation, not being asked, But it's interesting. Thank you for the opportunity to share. Nice.
Mariah is wearing my favorite outfit.
I look like a student, Pinafore, and
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
really cool.
I'm losing some weight, and I'm trying to adjust all my clothes. It's like I wore so many clothes today. I didn't want to wear this anymore. I was actually ready to give it out.
Okay.
But I had to wear it because all my clothes are just really, really loose.
Hallelujah, somebody.
Wearing
That's a
somewhere
good
without weight
testimony.
loss, yes, it's
Yeah.
good.
that coffee.
No.
No, actually, like, I'm actually reducing my food
Yeah.
every day.
A
That thing, I think
combination.
I can't reduce my food. I
you're
love food too much.
I'm working out. I work out 30 minutes in the mornings. That's the truth.
I haven't worked out for about a month.
Dancing. That's
We're dancing on Fridays. Okay,
So
that's
you might not work out in the morning, but you are active every
You're
day.
dancing.
No.
As compared to...
I actually feel that I've put on weight because I haven't
okay.
been working out.
So we're talking about weight. People are talking about weight. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we go to the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, we're going to start with the nation. Federal government TUC strike over subsidy pains not needed now. CBN loans most expensive to service. President meets defense chiefs. DSS warns plotters of violence. Tribunal verdict on poll, Tinubu will be confident. Trolling of federal highways to go on, says Umahi. That's tolling, actually. Owando acquires NAOC's upstream oil assets. And Sanwo-Olu drops 5 new nominees list to Assembly. Okay, should I start with who has the story in the major headline?
Oh, I have a story. I can start.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, yesterday met with Defense Minister Abubakar Badaru and the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale. He also met with the Chief of Defense Staff, the COAS, that's the Chief of Army Staff. He met with the Chief of Naval Staff and the Chief of Air Staff. They said, reporters said that when they got out, there was a brief meeting, and when they got out of the meeting, they were not told anything, but that this meeting is usually the sort of meeting the president has with the security personnel at where they just give him like a review of what they have done, what needs to be tied up, where they need more involvement, just tying up loose ends and closing gaps, and that's what this meeting is usually about. I know I was just talking yesterday with the senator that joined us saying that, we need to know what the plan as per security is going forward. So it's good to see that he's having these meetings, but can we see how this plays out? And can we also, as Nigerians, know what the layout is? Yeah.
Okay, let me take the major headlines. So NLC is going ahead with their 2-day planned strike for today and tomorrow. However, the federal government and TUC, that's the Trade Union Congress, have said that it's not necessary to go on this strike. The government and the TUC warned that the 2-day strike could actually erode the recorded gains on their course to securing a greater future for workers and citizens at large. The spokesperson to the president, Ajaero, was speaking yesterday at the television station, said that let's understand that we should delineate between an organized labor movement at large and the labor as an entity separately. According to him, he has agreed that TUC and the federal government have said that there's absolutely no need for this strike, especially because TUC was also at the same meeting with NLC and the federal government, so there was no need for this strike. They were all involved in the conversations. The NLC has taken a different position from what was agreed. According to him, his final word was that on the week on which the Presidential Election Tribunal judgment is going to be announced, it's very suspicious of NLC to be planning a strike on this same week that the election petitions will be announced by the tribunal. They're hoping that they can be rescinded on that, but it's supposed to be today and tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes.
DSS have warned that some elements, mostly politicians, are trying to stir the public against the federal government, and they have issued a stern warning. They said that those behind the plot should perish the thoughts. No group or person will be allowed to subvert national security. This was given by the spokesman, Dr. Peter Afunaya. He said that they uncovered the plot, and anyway, they are not going to tolerate it.
Okay. Any other story in nation?
Yes, the Minister for Marine and the Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, has directed that the Managing Director for the Nigerian Port Authority submit a comprehensive report on the dilapidated state of the Nigerian ports. And he visited Tinkan, Tinkan Island Port in Lagos. He also visited the Lagos Port Complex, and based on what he saw, he wanted a comprehensive report submitted to him immediately in his office. He said he was going to forward it to the president to seek approval for rehabilitation of the port facility. He also said that the report from EPA was necessary to know the level of the dilapidation, and assuring that the government is committed to fixing the issues. What I would like to know is, in that report, there should be an audit of how much has been spent over the last 8 years on the ports, how much has been the budget, how much has been spent on rehabilitating the ports over the past 8 years, so that we are able to also hold the contractors accountable for what they were meant to deliver on, if they did or not as well.
Okay, moving on now to the Punch. Presidential poll petitions, military police warn protesters as Tribunal delivers verdict on Wednesday. 40 years after Buhari's suspension, Lagos Light Rail begins operations. 4 suspects arrested for torturing trainee internet fraudsters. Foreign investors repatriated $5 billion dividends, says CBN. Over 1,000 lawmakers appointees get diplomatic passports. Reps summon 6 MDAs over FG asset sale. Okay, which story are we taking in Punch?
The Lagos Rail Mass Transit Blue Line system has finally begun its long-awaited commercial operations. They say 40 years after the idea for a metro line for the state was conceived. So the story is that the governor that conceived this idea was Jack Day, and that they had written all the papers. And in fact, it was just, this was in 1983. And the time frame they had given for this to have been achieved was till 1986. But unfortunately, that was when the military coup that brought in the military president, Buhari. And so they couldn't do it. And then I was just wondering.
And he cancelled it.
Yes, he cancelled it. But this one, he inaugurated, he commissioned it.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, this, I just feel like there has to, yes, is it irony? Is it, there has to be something in the universe, Sha. Anyways, so, 40 years after it started, the commenced operation, the governor was there with, I think this about 800 passengers yesterday. They went from Marina to Mile 2 and back.
They tried to activate it.
Yes, but they used the cowrie card, yes.
You can't just
So we are just a little bit information about the project going. So this is the blue line. It goes from Marina to Mile 2. There's another one which will be coming up that the governor was already talking about, the Agbado to Marina. There's a purple line redeemed to Ojo, yellow line Ota to Ido, brown line Mile 2 to Marina, orange line redeemed to Marina, and green line Marina to Lekki. So these are the ones that will be
fantastic.
coming.
Well done to Governor
Yes,
Sanwo-Olu.
well done, Lagos State.
All right, so go ahead, Waki.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the 4 suspects that were arrested for torturing internet fraudsters. They are suspected internet fraudsters, Precious Mayo, Prince Alpham, Israel Simon, Emanuela Mayo. They had recruited these young kids, and they told them, put them in a room, lock them in a room, and told them, oh yeah, start learning how to do Yahoo.
Wow.
So those ones were not doing well. They were not doing the Yahoo well, so they started to torture them, beat them, and they wouldn't let them out. So one day they planned to escape, and they escaped, but some of the neighbors saw them and called the police. The police came and arrested them while they were trying to, jump the fence.
Wow.
And they now confess that this is what they did. So they have arrested the internet fraudsters. And
if we were to see it in a Nollywood movie,
We'll say it's a lie.
Just
Yeah, it sounds
So they kidnap people and forcing them to...
I don't know if they kidnapped them. They employed them.
Push them, yes.
They recruited them.
Let me go on a break. When we come back, we continue with our reviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Let me take the major headlines. So the military police are warning protesters at Tribunal delivers their judgment tomorrow. Ahead of the delivery of the judgment, the military and the police have said they would not condone any unlawful actions by troublemakers. The Director of Defense and Information, Brigadier General Tukur Gusau, warned those who might be planning to cause violence on that day to discard the idea. The Tribunal, as a statement on Monday, announced it will be delivering its judgment challenging President Bola Tinubu's presidency, and the chairman of INEC, according to the report, if you recall, had declared the president a winner, and then he's been challenged by 5 major contenders, including the president, the election, the PDP presidential candidate, that's Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, amongst others. There are other parties there. So there are 5 justices. We're looking forward to the judgment tomorrow. 5 key justices, that's Justice Haruna Samani, Justice Stephen Ada of the Court of Appeal, Asaba, Justice Monsurat Bolaji Yusuf, Court of Appeal, Justice Moses Ugo, Court of Appeal, Kano, and Justice Abba Mohammed of Ibadan Vision. So we're waiting to see the judgment tomorrow, and it's a really important day. It's going to be televised live on television. All interested TV stations have been invited to come in, and only accredited people within the parties will be allowed. So you just can't walk into the courtroom. You have to be accredited by either your political party or the media house is allowed. So we're waiting for tomorrow. Hope that it will be a violence-free day. Listen, and whatever announcement, we accept it.
So over 1,000 lawmakers, appointees have gotten diplomatic passports under this administration. The Nigerian Immigration Service is declaring how they are trying to revamp and speed up the process of issuance. And the acting Controller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service, Caroline Adepoju, has revealed in detail what has been done since she took office on the 30th, I think, 30th of May till date. They've issued over 1,000 diplomatic passports, but the regular passports they've issued substantially. They said Nigerians should stop using agents because agents tend to use false address, false phone numbers to carry out the registration process, and is appealing that people should follow the due process and not resort to agents to help them in processing their passports. But they have issued 1,000 passports since to diplomats, and they've issued 54,000 passports. Since she came into power, they've said they've given over 337 personalized booklets have been issued both home and abroad. That's a whole lot of number between May and August in 3 months. So there's a lot of work being done to speed up timeline to get the passport. But I'm going to appeal to her that in all the good work, the point is there seems to be a correlation between how much you pay and how fast your passport comes out. And people would always want speed. So if you don't have that loophole there, people will not take advantage of it.
Okay, moving on now to Vanguard. NLC shuns meeting with federal government, starts 2-day warning strike. Why Tinubu appointed Agbaja, chief of staff, says sources. Obasanjo Sanusi blasts Buhari over reckless spending. Bola Tinubu, a president in need of help. Presidential poll, Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, no fate tomorrow. Strike. Presidential poll verdict, DSS raises alarm over violent protests. Okay, which story in Vanguard? Anybody? Okay, let me take the story about fresh details. I'm not even sure why this made major headline. But it's fresh details on the reasons why the former speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, was appointed as chief of staff. According to this article, it says shedding more light on the meticulous process behind the choice of chief of staff. The president said he had articulated his vision for an ideal chief of staff, declaring that he wanted somebody who was determined, hardworking, an individual who possessed a unique blend of qualities to navigate the complexities of the Nigerian politics successfully. He wanted somebody who had experience, who was decisive, and who was thorough, and who was somebody who he was close to, and he was loyal to him, and that was Femi Gbajabiamila. How that made front page? I'm not sure. But yeah. Okay.
Okay, I wanted to take the Obasanjo and Sanusi
back and forth.
Yeah, they are accusing the president, the former president,
they are accusing
of reckless spending.
Okay, so that's
because I read it in both papers. Tribune was more
explicit.
Yeah. So Obasanjo was just saying that he was spending, that the president was spending most of the money on servicing debts, and Buhari was spending money recklessly. I know Buhari didn't understand economics, but that he was even worse than he thought.
So you were just dragging him, Sha. They are just dragging the former president.
They were dragging. Obasanjo was dragging him, but Sanusi was more. Sanusi, he said that, look, jobless people, just because they were buying dollars
became wealthy.
Took
advantage.
We were buying jets. They were buying the dollar at, I think, 300 or 400 and selling it at 540. And that's when he was there, the dollar was 150. That people are saying that he's taking Tinubu's side. That it's not that he's taking Tinubu's side. That the government that Tinubu took was a bad government. So he's waiting for Tinubu to do his own before he talks about Tinubu. But right now, the person he can talk about is Buhari, who was...
there was something he also said I found interesting. He said an inexperienced boy who has no record of service, has a private jet, and owns houses in Dubai and England just because he's buying dollars and selling it. You know, so you don't need to have any qualifications, nothing, just to be able to buy and sell. And you know,
become a big boy overnight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was what Emefiele he encouraged it, and many of them were his friends.
Right.
This is why people were talking against him.
And nobody now is defending him. All his friends, they bought their private jet.
They've taken what they need to take, and they go.
He's alone.
He's alone. They might be sending him texts. Those
are the nice ones. Those are the nice ones.
Any other story in Vanguard?
I know of someone that became a billionaire.
Because of
This
that.
matter.
Ah.
Dollar matter. Any story in Vanguard? Should we move on?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have story in Vanguard.
Where is Booty? Yeah.
So I saw the article and it was really interesting. Bola Tinubu, a president in need of help. And, you know, the headline is couched in a way that will make you feel what's going on here.
Vanguard now.
No, but if you understand it, he said the comment is about weighing 100 days of the president being in office and the fact why they believe the president needs help. And he explained something that the president is not, nobody dies from falling into a river. They die from being submerged into the river. And he broke down, the writer broke down the concept of what the president knows and how it impacts the known and unknown factor. They said the president knows the fact that the subsidy issue needed to be stopped. We needed to stop paying subsidy. But what the president probably didn't know is the fact that we have a dubious system of importation and a dubious volume of consumption. He said the president also might not know that there is, he has to bridge the gap. He knows the fact that we need to float the naira, but they don't know the fact of how to bridge the gap between parallel markets and the official window. So he's talking about the issues the president has dealt with now and how the unknown side of those issues are becoming obvious. So we have removed subsidy, but we still have challenges with PMS availability or importation challenges. We have floated the naira, but we still have parallel price different from official rates. So there are actually issues where it might seem like the president needs help. But I also like when we put these comments outside, we put in a very viable solution option for the president as well.
So that was an editorial, so he was explaining his opinion, which is interesting. Any other thing in Vanguard? Should we move on? The Nigerian Tribune banks aviation other unions to join strike. Civil service payroll bill scares me, says Tinubu. Ekiti Airport, PCC takes up farmers, agitators over unpaid 429 million naira compensation. 800 passengers on board as Sanwo-Olu inaugurates commercial operations on Lagos Blue Rail. Politicians plotting to stage violent protests nationwide, says DSS. Nigeria's economy was put in a mess under Buhari, says Sanusi Lamido. Okay, Mariam, want to start?
Yes, I do. So the Public Complaints Commission has pledged to mediate in the crisis between the Ekiti State government and farmers. So these farmers are protesting an alleged non-payment of 429 million naira compensation that is owed them by the state after their crops were destroyed for the construction of the state's international cargo airport. So they protested and went to the office of the Public Complaints Commission, and they have their ear. And the Federal Commissioner in charge of the Ekiti PCC has said that, first of all, he described the displacement of these landowners and farmers from their lands without compensation as crass injustice. He says the first thing you should do in a case like this is to first compensate these people, but then to ignore them and to go on as if nothing has happened. So he's calling on the government, and they're going to be talking about it. Please, it's 429 million naira. It's a small amount of money for a state compared to these people's livelihoods. You just took it away, and then you're hoping to just continue construction or nothing for these people. So I hope that they are duly compensated, and other state governments should learn from this, please. Let's not have
Okay, so our president has expressed concern about Nigeria's bloated civil service payroll. According to him, he was having a meeting with Andreas Garcia, the vice president of Oracle, and he was saying that each time they give me the payroll, the number I look at, I get so frightened.
I can imagine.
Where am I going to get the capital to develop the infrastructure we desperately need when about 2% is consuming all our revenue? That's pretty heavy. According to him, I think we need a tight technological control that can check and balance all our transaction processes. I'm looking forward to working with Oracle because I have the belief that and confidence that they can do the best. If you recall, Oracle was what was introduced in Lagos to help to automate the payroll system to make it easier. So he's saying that we have to get that on the federal level because that's the only way.
Ghost workers.
Even if we remove ghost workers, we can't fire people. So I think there could also be a meeting to increase productivity, because if everybody in the ministries and MDAs are doing their work and producing income.
Have you seen?
I agree with you.
The
Before
ghost
we-
workers, have
before
you seen
we-
the number of people, when states bring the list,
Yeah.
you're shocked.
Before
Nearly
before we even train people, increase productivity, let's even be sure that
We are
those
paying
still-
those-
yes, they are alive and they are working.
Yeah.
Once
I'm
we have
even surprised that
all the fake jobs.
still have ghost
the
workers.
Senate is not frightening him. The Senate salaries and the
No,
House of
that one is not so much.
If you look at it,
What?
the
It's
independence-
not.
Civil
As compared
service.
to
Okay, let me
civil
give you an
service.
example.
Ha.
Even we keep complaining that our refineries are not working, but you know the workers there are still being paid.
Yes.
Refineries have not been working for years.
Since so,
but those people working there
everybody.
are still every single, and even the various. So the point is that if you
I
look
hear
at
that.
Senate, 300 people. If you look at all the various
They're resuming
sectors,
work, they go to
all the various sectors that
including,
are
but including
so
the
it's
Senate.
all the
They just
heavy-
include all.
everybody.
Include all.
If you ask the Senate, then he will just give up.
Anyways, we have to run. I think that's all we can take.
Oh, so sad. The major headline is saying that banks, aviation union are going to join the strike. That's going to really shut down the economy.
I'm really. It's calling.
Banks
Why?
joining the strike will shut down the economy. Aviation
I wonder
joining the strike will
what-
shut down the economy. Whatever it is, by now the president should have told them how much the salary will be and when it will be. Like we should already have given NLC what they
It's our
need.
hot topic. We'll discuss it a bit later because it's quite interesting that it's happening on the week of the announcement. So we think so. According to the
Just a coincidence.
Ngolale, it's looking like it's a political move. But when we're going to break, when we come back, we'll discuss it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, will today begin a two-day warning strike after shunning a meeting with the federal government over the increasing hardship and suffering across the country caused by the removal of subsidy. Meanwhile, the National Union of Air Transport Employees, NUATE, the Association of Nigeria Aviation Professionals, NAAP, the National Association of Aircraft Pilots and Engineers, NAAPE, and the National Union of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions have expressed their readiness to join NLC on this two-day strike. Now, what are your own thoughts on this? Do you agree with NLC? Do you think they should go ahead on this strike, or do you think it should be put aside and continue dialogue with the federal government? You can call us on the numbers on your screen, 081-076-41679, 0902-4163440. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweet. All right, so for those of us following this story, I want to just list out the issues that the NLC is still asking from the federal government, according to the reports I have here. So the federal government had the issues are number one is the implementation of the palliative, if you recall, of the palliatives that the federal government had offered, the implementation of the palliatives, the wage award, tax exemptions and allowances to public service, modalities for the 70 billion naira SMEs, and the RTEN crisis, amongst others. So those are the key issues NLC is still holding on to. The federal government at the meeting on Monday had said specifically that they've said 2 weeks timeline. They're asking for 2 weeks timeline to sort out the wage bill, the wage award, the tax exemption and allowances to public sector, to cushion the effects and anguish that they are going through. And they've asked for 2 weeks to handle that. They've also said that they're going to need, after that 2 weeks, they will then continue the modalities to assessing the intervention fund that was recently announced by the palliatives for micro, small, medium enterprises. So according to the federal government, give us 2 weeks. We'll sort out all these pending issues of taxes, wage reforms, and all that. But NLC completely boycotted the meeting yesterday. TUC was there, and the federal government and the Minister of Labour was also there. So what are your thoughts on this? Now, some are saying, and some are suggesting, that it's rather convenient for this strike to be called on a week where the tribunal will be giving a judgment concerning the presidential elections declared by INEC. However, others are saying it's not related. It's just Labour doing what Labour should be doing. What are your thoughts? Let us hear your views. Lily, let me come to you. What are your own thoughts? Tokwe, would you like to start on this matter? Do you agree that Labour should go ahead? It seems like they're the only ones. And now the banks and aviation are expressing their readiness to join. So this is much more than we think.
So the government responds to strike. That's it. The government responds to protest. The government has a lot on their hand. I'm not saying that the government is not trying to do their best, but I'm saying the timeline and the expectations of the labor, that's people who work within the Nigerian system, who run the system, is that we should be put in the forefront of any decision you are making. And if you haven't done it, and we have asked over and over again, and you have not officially come to declare what you want to do for labor, then we'll go on strike. And based on the past history of the way Nigerian system works, going on strike gets issues on the front burner, and once it's on the front burner, we discuss it. I feel bad that we have to get to this point where we are going on strike. I feel bad that aviation and banks are saying they're going to join, because seriously, that's going to shut down the entire economy, and we shouldn't get to this point, but they've been threatening since. And while I don't agree with the fact that the NLC walked out, there was a boycott of the meeting that they should have been, at least so that you would hear what they are saying. The government should have been more proactive with dealing with this situation. That's my...
Miriam, your thoughts?
Okay, so we know that the demands of the NLC, I mean, to a very large extent, is valid, and that's because they're speaking the minds of the people. But from listening to the conversation, it seems that we have a federal government that is willing to work with NLC to resolve the issues. Maybe to NLC, they need a timeline, a shorter timeline to be able to do that, or they do not think that the government is responding as quickly as they need to. And I've said this before, it just seems that any little disagreement will just go on the streets and will shut down the economy, and will, as important as it is to protest and insist on, meeting the demands of the people, can we also look at it vis-a-vis the lives and livelihoods that we're shutting down? If aviation goes on strike, the banks, we are struggling already. If we can talk about it, if we can sit at the table and address it, why do we have to go down this route? Is what I don't understand. If we're saying that we spoke to the federal government, they're insisting on not speaking with us, they're insisting on not listening to our demands, I can understand. But I hear the federal government say, I was waiting at the meeting. I did not get an official statement saying that we're going on strike. Yes, they didn't get that from the NLC. As of the time of their meeting, they had just heard, from briefings that they normally get from different sectors, and they heard that there might be, but they have not received the official statement from NLC saying that they'll go on strike. So what is the hurry in using only this method right now? Why is discussing it not important? Why is doing it in such a way that is not too hard on Nigerian people? Why is that option not appealing to the NLC? That's what I just need to understand.
Interesting.
They said the minister had... Vanguard carried that one of the reasons the NLC didn't show up for the meeting was there was an alleged outburst by the minister before the meeting, and he made he made the Labour leaders angry. He made one of the Labour leaders angry. And I remember, like a few years back with Dr. Chris Ngige, that there was a case of tone of voice, being rude to them. NLC, we don't want an ego clash. Like, Nigerians are already suffering. We don't want your ego clashing with the ego of the minister. We don't want quarrel based on the fact that the way we felt. Can we just deal with the issues? Because if we shut down the economy, the people you are fighting for that live on a daily meal cannot afford to eat. If the banks close down, somebody's food comes from the banks the staff buying food from them. It's the money they make that day that they are able to feed their family. So while I understand that the government responds to strike, let strike truly be our last resort, not based on the ego. The way they spoke to me, I will not attend that meeting. Do you know who we are? We are NLC. We can ground the entire country to a halt if you don't answer us. Yes, we know, please, but let that not be what you will do based on ego or based on the fact that you feel like you're not being answered appropriately.
Don't you think the minister should be humble?
Yeah, but TUC was there, so I mean,
yes, in his own, when he was describing it, so it looks like maybe in his own explanation, he's saying that they misunderstood him. He did not think that he came across as being what's the word now? Being arrogant. So they decided, they read it that way. So it's not...
Conveniently.
Yeah, well, I don't know about conveniently. The thing is, you can talk about it. You can sit at the table and talk about it. To say, I don't like the words he used on TV. Tell him off when you sit at the table with him and say, we're representing Nigerians here and it is important. And then let's hear him say, I don't care who you're representing. I don't care what your demands are. Federal government is not going to listen to you. That is not the conversation we're hearing.
You know, YK, I was watching, I mean, this is an old series. Many Nigerians have probably watched it already. But House of Cards, you know, when you see how politics is being played, you and I can be on different levels. You can hate me. But when it comes to the people, the American people that you put your personalities completely aside. We focus on the issues. So it's not about how you talk to me. It's not about how humble you are. It's about what are you saying? What's your intention? If the intention is really about the people, then we now begin to have a conversation. But leave personal issues aside. That is now us reading or taking report. Because depends on how these days now I choose not to even believe papers anymore. Because I have read several papers, many and has been framed and twisted in different ways. So I'm not even believing one side of the story. But what are your own thoughts on the convenience of having a strike on the same week that the tribunal is about to answer or to declare the verdict of presidential election that is highly controversial? What do you think is coincidental or do you think it's different?
Have you looked at it that if there is a strike, then there can be riots if they don't like the outcome of the verdict?
Or there might be riots.
But
everybody is at home.
If they're at work.
That's why they're work. They can't go for riot. But if they're at home, they can definitely do riot.
No.
Okay.
You cannot converge because you are all at home.
Or they will have time to converge. YK.
No, how will they converge now? They're all in their houses now.
I don't like politics. People just don't know.
Just let's face the issue.
So I think what's worrying us, and I think I have a call now, is the fact that NLC also, to some people, one of the parties in contention is Labour.
They are partisan.
And they seem to be partisan. So it's almost very suspicious. Where, okay, now you're coming out to do what you want there to be some kind of unrest to maybe aggravate the society at this point in case Wednesday doesn't go as we want. You know, there are different ways you can read meanings to this, because if you are indeed worried about the Nigerian people, you say, let this tribunal calm down. After they're done, let us come back to our labor matter. This thing they promised us, because federal government is saying, give me 2 weeks. This wage they're asking for, I will clear it. The taxes they're asking for, we will clear it. Everything you said, we'll clear it. All we need is 2 weeks. What's the hurry, as Mariam said?
The hurry is the fact that hunger is in town. For many people, the salary is not taking them home. You collect salary, and your salary week, the salary is finished. So, and that's the reality of many people for the past 3 months, and they are waiting for, this is 100 days into office. Subsidy was gone on the day it took the oath. It was immediately that the shock affected. So they've been 100 days of Nigerians waiting of the Labour, waiting to hear how the president is going to help them deal with the challenges that they are facing. And the first way would have been to put something small on all salaries, like something small. Even private businesses are finding a way to do it.
But this is, Mariah just read out an article that said that the president is worried about the civil service wage. So he's now thinking, if he puts something small, he cannot do the...
Infrastructure. And
you see, for infrastructure, I think that food is more important than infrastructure.
You need life.
Yeah, but you see, YK...
So I like where YK was even going with this, because, I mean, I understand Labour is asking...
I'm so sorry. Moses has been holding for a while. Good morning, Moses. I'll come back to you, Mariam. Thanks for calling. You're live. Go ahead.
In respect of this strike, I don't want to preempt anybody, but what I see, there's a little element of politics in what is happening. Because let's look at it this way. I quite agree things are hard. But what is the way forward? Is the strike. We want to strike a solution where, if that is a solution to the Labour Congress president, they turn into tomorrow is the verdict. And you can know the extent of Nigeria as of now. Everybody is angry. Not the fault of government, but how many people are aware that the present government is not the cause of our problem? Because I've asked people so many people, if you say don't remove subsidy, what is the way forward? You have the solution? So please, you, the press, you can help us to educate the labor man properly. Let us remove sentiment. Let us remove politics from whatever we are doing so that we can go forward or that we remain where we are. Because the issue of subsidy removal and the palliative. Subsidy removal has started from the previous government. Since then, the Labour Congress found didn't fit to discover the previous government that if we remove subsidy, what are the things that we have fed the market? What are the palliative? No decision was reached. Nothing was discussed. That is becoming aggressive like AXO. I just want people to educate them properly because you see, we have no other country apart from Nigeria. If we decide Nigeria because of tribe or religion or what or the other, we all suffer here too.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Moses. Yes,
I love what you just said.
Yeah.
We don't have any other country. This is our only country.
So I was just saying, I like where YK went with that conversation in that we had read in the papers that the president has said we need to find a different way to sort of work on the wage bill for civil service. It's quite huge, that to the point that it scares him. So if we're thinking of, let's say, raising wages, and we have an issue of ghost workers or different things, you know, so when we raise the wages, could it be, like in the thinking, like, is it not better to deal with issues where we're sure that we're not wasting resources? Monies that go out or monies that will be borrowed for the civil service is not ending up in the hands of unscrupulous people, you know. So these may be one of the things that is holding on, you know, slowing down the process. There are things, there's a due process. There are things we need to consider before we go ahead and give, you know, and raise the wage bill. If we have a conversation now with the NLC saying, we have discussed with the government, and these are the things that they have put in place, although we don't agree with this and this. What I'm reading here is saying that the NLC doesn't want to have a conversation with the minister because when he came on board, he gave them a certain body language or the words that he used, he did not like it. The minister is saying, see, when I came out, I was just giving from my own point of view, from our own from the federal government's point of view, what we have done so far, and some of the demands that they've been asking for, that they have asked, we have already started working on it. So it looks like the wage is the main thing right now. But if you're already working with the government who is working towards resolving the issues, why do you not just sit down with them to see how you can resolve this issue? We do not want to further impoverish Nigeria in the name of let's just increase wages. If there are factors to be looked at before that happens, why wouldn't NLC want to be a part of, you know, looking at that as well?
Let me take this call and hold it for a minute. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good morning, lady.
Morning.
Yeah. Auntie Ajaero.
Yes.
I totally disagree with Dr. Editorial.
Okay.
My view is this. I don't know why Nigeria is like this. I don't know. In how many decades have they going to continue, we are going to strike, Has it solved our problem in this place? The answer is no. Can we continue to do the same thing, the same way I expect different results? The answer is no. This government is not the government that remove the subsidy. The subsidy that removed the previous government. Where is the labor? Did they travel then? The answer is no. Now this government, 100 days that Tokwe has mentioned, have they done something? The answer is yes. The government has been working. They have started working on it. They promised that December is what we started. Maybe we started distributing petrol in that particular refinery. The palliative are there. I called the previous time then, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Our government should be all responsible. Where are 2 billion? The grains, the rice. Where are the palliative and the federal government have been distributed to the state and the local government? Where are they? The shunning are doing their own. Where state government is doing their own. Some people yesterday you opened the live trade. You still use the price. What about the Ondo State Governor or two State Governor? Not that what are they doing? Use your platform, as Morayo. Use your platform and tell our governor. Yeah, and local government, what are they doing? You stop playing politics. Nigeria belongs to every one of us. Yesterday, UK said Peter will not guarantee us to enter UK again.
Thank you very much, UK. Thank you for your view. Actually, I was going to go there because it's one thing for Labour to say, oh, increase minimum wage to this. I remember the last time they increased it. Some states didn't even pay for years because they couldn't afford it. It's one thing for Labour to scream, get the minister and say, okay, approved. That's just, so your own mind, you've satisfied your ego that, yes, we've got an approval. But guess what? Yeah. Many people are still going to be paid because many of the states are not paying it. Federal government might change their own wages, but the states, people, the real people, not the federal government, the real people who need this review may not get it based on what the states are earning. Therefore, it goes back to we need to call again. Remember, there was supposed to be a meeting with the governors to discuss this review. That, okay, what can you afford? Let us come together. We are yet to see the outcome of that meeting. We don't know exactly where it is as regards to the governors. That's the one hand. So based on what Mariam is saying is, no matter how difficult things go, we must never stop having a conversation.
We are
talking,
I think we all...
exploring diplomatic options on this matter.
They've been warning since, so why is strike premature when they had warned?
This conversation.
I have to go on a break, sorry.
Federal government, with this administration, in how many days, 100 days, I think a strike at this point is premature for this particular issue.
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing the strike. And, I'd like to also find out, let's discuss the fact that even the banks are getting involved. I was reading from the Deputy General Secretary of the NUBFI, that's Mr. Abodurin Olusheda, was saying that they are reiterating their commitment to NLC, and according to them, these are I'm trying to get this is the National Union of Banks, Insurance, Financial Institutions, Employees. They said that they were citing the need to draw government's attention to the dire economic situations faced by Nigerians. When the banks ever care about how the economic situation of Nigeria, I don't know how, when bankers, employees became quite concerned about us. Because I remember an article I read about a week or two ago about the fact that there was an impending investigation on banks, on some kind of corruption. I'll get the article in a moment. But there was an ongoing investigation. Yes, that the bank MDs were asked not to leave the country because they were being investigated. So you keep thinking of the political undertones, because why would the banking, the union, then agree with Labour to go? And I'm wondering, because you're worried about the economic realities of Nigerians, when the bank start getting worried about us? So
I'm tagged the person that is supporting NLC and strike, but that's actually not that's not the only view I have. I actually believe that the NLC had good intentions. There might be a bit of politicizing or drama behind the scene. There's a bit of ego behind the scenes, but I feel that somebody needs to speak on behalf of the Nigerian labor force to ask the government to speak up and speed up palliatives getting to Nigerians. I believe strongly that should be done. How they go about doing it, going on strike, whether they are calling for protest, all of that we might not always agree with, but we all agree that Nigerians are feeling the pinch of subsidy removal and we want the government to address it. The current Labour Minister was formerly the governor in Plateau State, and he also struggled with paying salaries to the state's civil service. Oyo State's governor has been struggling. He was very vocal, and I love his perspective. And this is what I want to hear. He said that the revenue being generated in Oyo State is 10 billion. He said the salary that they are paying to civil service is 7.2 billion. And expectations are that there should be fund for other parts of the states. You have health, you have infrastructure that must be deployed. You have interventions by the states. Where would they be able to do that when 72% of your revenue is going into paying salary of civil service? Now, when that confronts the governor, or you have the revenue is not even enough to cover salary, it is not to say we will not increase it. It is to say, Labour, work with me to see how we can increase our income. Work with me to see how we can increase productivity. You cannot fold your hands when you face challenges. You are the governor. You became that governor because you believe you can solve the problems of the states. So you cannot say we're not generating enough money, so let's deal with what we have. No. How do we increase our income? That's what I want to hear from governors. So the idea of saying governors, I don't have enough money, because of that, we should not ask for more money is not our headache. It's not our headache.
Well, there is a school of thought that also believes that NLC should leave the federal government alone for now and face state governors, because the state governors are actually responsible for us.
Yes.
I think it comes from the head now. They are facing the head. So if the body language changes from the presidency, everybody would comply.
Not necessarily, because
but what about the head of the states? We are talking about
they have state chapters. Yes, they all have state chapters.
Oh, okay.
Interestingly, I was reading an article that said that the meetings where palliatives were being agreed, the NLC was involved at the federal level, but they were not involved in the state level. So the issues we have, the thorny issues where palliatives had come, we're not getting it, so what's going on? NLC said, I have to be part of it. So you're right in the sense that we have, at all levels, the real work is at the state levels. Each of the states must therefore hold, the NLC in each state chapter must hold the governors responsible for whatever palliatives that we've agreed and how to ensure that it gets to the people. So shutting down the whole nation because of it is therefore premature. And I keep going back to what Miriam said. If this federal government said, we are not talking, because we've seen grandstanding in this country, where Labour said, there's not to do your worst. We have seen it. But this government is not saying that. They're saying, let's keep talking. What, Monday? Okay, give me 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, we will be the one to shout, listen, neighbor, you asked for 2 weeks, they're giving you 2 weeks. Federal government, this is wrong. You know, we'll make noise about it. But this government is listening, so why, therefore, is Labour insisting? So that's why you guys are not talking about the political undertones. Do you think there are political undertones, or you don't think there are?
There's politics everywhere now. There's politics everywhere. And that's one of the challenges, the grouse I have with the Labour Congress, because once you become partisan, whatever you say, your good work will be spoken ill of, because you already took a stand.
Yeah.
Once you take a stand, everything will be colored. It's like you have already touched blood. Everything you touch else will be colored. So that's the challenge with NLC.
I'm told we have Sharon Jasso, our TVC news correspondent.
Let's hear what's going on the street.
She's on the streets of Lagos telling us what's going on with the strike. Good morning, Sharon. Are you there? Hello, Sharon. Hello, Sharon. Are you there? Hello, Sharon. Okay, I think we're having some connection issues.
Yeah, can I read some messages?
Please go ahead, White.
Yes. Felicia Sheyi says, increasing wages will only result in increasing cost of goods. The government and NLC should work together for a lasting solution to the issues at hand. My opinion.
Mike, let me talk about that for a second, because I think we've had several people come on this table and told us exactly the same thing. If you like, give us 200,000 naira per, it's not going to make any difference, because everything will be increased across board. What we need are the palliatives. The transportation is crucial. Both from federal to state government, we need that done. Palliatives of supporting, there has to be some kind of social welfare, that people can go to the hospitals, get discounted payment. That's what people need. That increment is important, but really, as Nigerians, the Nigerians that we are, the bus driver will increase, the boli seller will increase, the corn person will increase, the gari seller, everybody will react. So your 200,000 naira even gets, it's not going to be enough. So it's those social welfare act there that we need government to do, and that's what Labour should be fighting for.
Yeah, you're right. If we're to increase wage across board, which I am for. Absolutely. If we can afford it. Important. But the structure, the way the system is right now, first of all, those are the factors I was talking about. We have talked about, if I mentioned ghost workers, but we've also talked about states that even the previous wage increase, they have not been able to implement. Can we also discuss why they have been unable to implement that? Can we discuss what they need to do better for internally generated revenue? You know, those are things. To just pour money, sometimes you just pour money into a problem does not solve the problem, but even further exacerbates it. So I just feel that NLC can do much more than, what they say, low-hanging fruit, which is we fight them, we go on strike, we protest. Let's sit down, be part of planning and conversation in the way that it affects the grassroots.
That's where it suggests the ego tripping. So it's not about really helping Nigerians. It's about we're going to show them. Because if it's about the Nigerian people, those governors that have not even increased that have not reviewed the wage.
Why are we not striking?
Why are we not striking on them? Why are we not ensuring that they've reviewed the salaries based on the even previous wages? Many states are still not paying it. There are people that their states are still dependent 100% on federal government. Why is Labour not on their case? So this sounds more like an ego tripping for me. And that's why I like what TUC said. TUC was like, listen, I was at the meeting, unless I was not at that meeting. Because I was at that meeting, I've seen the body language of the minister. I understand what they've said. And because of that, we're not joining the strike. So...
Case closed.
Case closed. Okay. Let's take a few comments and then we move.
For me, I want Nigeria to work.
Yes.
It is important. I don't have any other place to go. This is where I will live and I will die. I'm not going anywhere else. So, God.
Good morning, Tony. Okay. Hello, I have a caller. Good morning. Hello, are you there? You're live. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, my name is Tony.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm calling from Abuja.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, please, what people are discussing is very, very important. And I like the way people are trashing it. The issue about labor and the federal government is that the federal government, since the president declared the subsidy removal, the president did not put anything in place for the ordinary citizens. I do not like the way they are putting it as if the president, the Labour is just trying to put the federal government on a tightrope. The planned protest has already been said before the appeal tribunal declared tomorrow, being 6th of December, as the date of judgment. Please, they should try and do something so that the common man, because if you are giving palliative, nobody knows where it goes to. That's just my little contribution.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Any more comments before we run off?
Yes, we have...
Oh, I have to go on a break, but I think we can wrap up on this. I'm not sure there's anything else to discuss, but
comments.
We're hoping... we couldn't get Sharon. We're having some connection issues. It would have been nice to get her. Maybe when we come back, we'll try to get her. If not, I think when we come back, we'll try to talk to Sharon. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right.
Thanks for staying with us. Now we'll go to our TBC correspondent, Sharon Ejason. She's actually at the Nigerian Port Authority in Apapa. Good morning, Sharon. Hello, Sharon. Okay, let's take a few comments on social media while we try to get Sharon back. Waike, you have any comments there, or who has a comment?
Okay. Immaculate Boy, this is on Twitter, X. The FC must make the states accountable to the citizens. Governors are emperors, QED. Which tool is free in states? In states, judiciary, legislature, labor, union, local, which institution is independent at the state level? You need to, then Joseph Oluwasegun says, you need to know how people are coping all this while with the way the cost of living is so high, and there is no way some people can go to that place, to their place of work. Many people have lost their jobs because of all this.
Does that person talking, does that person think Labour is fighting for them? I mean, that's the question I like to the Nigerian people to. Do you really think that Labour right now is fighting for Nigerians? I mean, as we said, what are the terms they're asking for? Do you believe Labour is fighting for you?
Okay. That's a very, very valid question. I don't know the answer.
Okay, while you're thinking of the answer, let me take Sharon. I'm told she's back now. Sharon, please tell me you're here.
Yeah, it's a bright morning here in Lagos, Nigeria, and we have members of the Nigerian Labour Congress, will I say picketing or making due to their words, which is that they wanted to embark on an industrial action today. Right now, I'm at the front of the Nigerian Port Authority, where we have workers in their numbers actually signifying or complying with the directive from the Nigerian Labour Congress, which is the headquarters that they are affiliated to, where they are actually ensuring that they say their minds about what the demands of their leaders are. And some of the demands that they have is that they want the federal government to actually review the minimum wage. And they are also concerned about the way the state government are going about sharing the palliative for Nigerians. They want to be involved, and according to the Nigerian Labour Congress, this is the reason why they are embarking on a 2-day warning strike, even though their counterpart Labour Center, the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, are not part of this industrial action. I have the Deputy President of Maritime Workers Union here on ground also. He will bring us up to speed on why the economic nerve of the country actually has to be shut down. So can you bring us up to speed on why we have your members out here this morning?
Yeah, my name is Comrade Francis Bunu, Deputy President General Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria. We are here because of the directive by our trade union, Nigerian Labour Congress, which is presently, we are asking for that let Nigerian workers to breathe. Allow the poor to be breathe, as Mr. President have said. Let him demonstrate it in his action. That is what we need. What we need, because what we are taking right now is not a living wage. It's no longer a living wage again. Let the federal government should look into every activities of this country and now know that he is the president as of today. He should be able to take charge and be able to do what is right for the Nigerian masses. That is why we are here. We are here for 2 days warning strike. It's for 2 days. For us to tell the federal government our grievances. For us to tell the government to have a listening ear. We are here to make sure that the common man should have a living wage for himself. That is how we are here.
Okay, that's the Deputy President of the Maritime Workers Union, and he's one of the people monitoring the strike action here in Lagos, Nigeria. For now, the protest continues, which also means that they are not at work. So we're looking forward to what tomorrow would be like. Maybe the federal government would have probably had a sit-down with the Nigerian Labour Congress to discuss the issues that's emerging.
Sharon, I was going to ask, there was a sit-down on Monday and the Nigerian Labour Congress boycotted it. Is the gentleman aware of this boycott, and why was Labour not interested in that meeting? Would he know?
Well, the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment, headed by the Minister for Labour, His Excellency Simon Lalong, held a meeting with Labour yesterday. Though NLC withdrew from the meeting, the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria was part of the meeting. And from my own observation from what transpired yesterday, the Nigerian Labour Congress refused to have a sit-down with the Federal Ministry of Labour because they believe that the timeline of discussions have elapsed and there's no reason why they should meet according to the Nigerian Labour Congress. But their counterpart, Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, ensured that they had a meeting with them, and the federal government reassured Nigerian workers that they would ensure that they do the needful to meet their demands. For example, the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria also highlighted that they need tax waivers for the federal government workers. So also the employers of labor, other the organized private sector would actually need interventions from the federal government. So with this on ground, of course, we know that the Nigerian Labour Congress will still have to sit on the table to ensure that it's a tripartite meeting, and so that the Nigerian workers will be at par with the government to what their dreams and desires would be for Nigerian workers.
if, during these meetings and the demands that have been put forward by NLC, if there's any part of the demands that have been met, if there's any sort of behavior to show that the federal government is not willing to listen to the other demands that are still on the table?
Well, so far, from my observation as a Labour correspondent, I wouldn't say the government has not been ready to do one or two things. For example, we've seen many state governments flag out palliative for Nigerian workers. However, what are the modalities where the Nigerian Labour Congress members carried alongside when these decisions were made? These are some of the things that are probably their grievances. A clear-cut communication. The government has promised that there's going to be a minimum wage, but the question is when is there going to be a new minimum wage? The conversation for the new national minimum wage is supposed to be for the year 2024. We are in 2023. Inflation has skyrocketed in the economy in the country right now. So this means that there is a need for a wage award, and that wage award will be with the discretion of the presidency and also the Federal Ministry of Finance. So now there are a lot of agitations from Nigerian workers and Nigerians themselves because they can barely have 3 square meals, but which also means that the government also has to ensure that whatever timeline that they give is actually being adhered to, so that there won't be any misconstruction or misinterpretation of what their dreams and desires would be for Nigerian workers. All in all, it's all about collective bargaining agreement and also the government meeting up with a timeline that they actually would have agreed on with the Nigerian Labour Congress or the working force.
Okay, Sharon, I'd like to ask this one. I'm asking for your opinion, being that you're a Labour correspondent. I want to ask, based on your experience, if you believe that this strike is going to be effective, especially since the Trade Union Congress isn't joining. Do you think we would achieve anything with this sit-at-home, this strike, 2 days?
Well, the strike is effective. We know that we can't have all workers comply. But the truth remains that in every working force, we have some key areas that are very essential. For example, we have the oil and gas workers, we have the workers in the maritime industry, we also have the road transport workers. So when these people do not come to work, it means a lot. I wouldn't want to quantify the amount of money that would actually be lost by the Nigerian Port Authority being shut down today. All the workers are outside at the moment. We don't have workers in the offices working. So whether we like it or not, it's an effective strike, even though activities are still ongoing in some other sector. But the strategy is, once you don't have tanker drivers working, you don't have workers in the maritime sector working, definitely the federal government is going to be losing a lot of money, and it's not something that anyone wants for it to tarry so long, because we have people who have their businesses and investments lying here, and every minute counts.
Some have suggested that this strike is quite convenient because of the fact that the tribunal would make an announcement concerning the election. The election tribunal will be announced tomorrow. What's your take on that?
Well, whether we like it or not, the tribunal dates, from my own observation or from my own learning as a journalist, is not something that is made public in good time. So, and the Nigerian Labour Congress has actually announced that they were going to embark on an 2-day warning strike for more than a week now. So it's just a coincidence, maybe. But whatever the case may be, what matters is that the Nigerian people should be the one who would win, which is the fact that Nigerian workers deserve more, even though the federal government has its plans and an arrangement on what the welfare of workers should be. There is never a time that is so good than now for the Nigerian workers to get the best from the government, while the government also goes about ensuring that other sector of the economy also thrives.
Okay. So all the people standing around you, are they from the NLC or they are from the Ports Authority?
That from the Nigerian Labour Congress. Is a mix-up of workers, but we have more of the people from the Maritime Workers Union here.
If they're from Labour, we'd like to speak with one of them. If they're from Labour, I'd like to speak to one of them. If they can just clarify what exactly they hope to achieve by the end of tomorrow. So the federal government, what exactly do they hope to get by tomorrow, by the end of tomorrow?
So it's a 2-day warning strike. What more would you be expecting from the federal government? We can see that the Nigerian Port Authority is actually shut down at the moment. And we also have some of the banking sector and aviation workers also complying to this strike action called by the national body. What are your hopes and aspirations? Do you want to continue till tomorrow? What do you think the government can do to ensure that everybody goes back to work?
It's a 2-day warning strike. What we want for the federal government is to come back to the table and be able to open the negotiation with a sincere heart, with a sincere mind, with a sincere purpose for the common man. We are talking about that what you are doing, it does not go well with the common man. Not that you are giving the state government 5 billion. When you give the state government 5 billion, who and who will they give? They will give to their political what? Brothers and sisters. And that is all. So the common man still remain the same. And apart from that, it's not just only the government workers who are Nigerians. There are other Nigerians who are doing petty trading, who are doing a lot of things on the street. So therefore, what we want the government to have a sincere heart, sincere purpose for Nigerian Labour Congress. And it's a 2-day warning strike, no more going back.
Okay. We've heard from the Deputy President of the Maritime Workers Union here in Lagos, Nigeria. It's a 2-day warning strike. Only time will tell if they will still continue by tomorrow. All
right. Thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you so much for
giving us some comments.
Let's take a few comments.
Yes. This is on X. Lalong says, NLC is partisan, so not something to discuss. The palliative we need is on transportation, school fees, hospitals, good roads, strong economy that will build a strong naira and not a salary increment that will lead to general increment and hardship. He says, if a state can't pay terribly low minimum wages, we pay the terribly low minimum we pay in Nigeria. Why is it a state? Such a state can apply to the FD to be merged with a neighboring state.
Okay, well, I mean, it's
just our conversation.
And there are a lot of comments on.
We have to wrap up.
Muritala says, we all know how COVID palliative went, despite the fact that the palliative is not from the government post.
Thank you for working on this issue, because from what I'm hearing, even from the men talking to behind Sharon, it's not so much about the inability for federal government to respond. It's the palliative, that palliative that was sent to the states. The fact that the state chapters were not involved. That's the... It's not that federal government is not listening to us. You send palliative. We are not part of the process of distribution. We are not part of it. That is the real issue. And I think maybe the state government should bring labor within their various chapters in their state to a conversation.
It would be interesting to find out how the state chapters engage with the state government, actually. I mean, are they given the same access at the federal level? You know, the federal level has power, has influence. At the state chapters, do they have that power and influence with the state government to be able to have conversations with them?
Yeah, but you see, the thing, for me, this palliative, I would have thought, go to the farms, go and give those ones subsidy, the farmers. I was listening to the news today, the Edo State government, bus fare, bus transportation is free. From 6:30 to 7 p.m. every day.
Work time.
Those are the kind of things.
Yes.
You know, when you say go and distribute rice, it will enter inside.
Yes,
5 billion now.
Voice me.
You know?
All right, that's all we can take on this segment concerning labor. We'll continue to monitor the stories. Our correspondents are out there, and we're going to be seeing across the various states to see how people are complying with the NLC's directive. Let's go on a break now. We'll come back and move on to the final segment of today's show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So Tuesday is our Healthy Tuesday, and there was a story that was health-related that we thought was an important conversation to have. So we got the story from a lady who claims that her husband hid his genotype from her until she got pregnant and gave birth to a sickle cell baby. Now, the husband's family collected the baby from her without proper treatment, but she was later had the opportunity to see her son, who was looking so pale and his breathing was not normal till there was need for medical attention. Anyway, the point is that she was obviously, according to her story, deceived on the type of genotype her husband was carrying. He didn't tell her, we don't know why, but she, according to her, to the story, admitted to her husband that she was AS. They now gave birth to a sickle cell baby, and then she's being faced with the fact, with treating this child. According to her story, the story was actually quite longer, where she was saying that she was thrown out of the house, abandoned, and the family took the baby, and they're having to care for the child. But our focus, because of it's a Healthy Tuesday, and the fact that there are lots of people going through this situation where they marry for different reasons, and they know that the genotype is a factor, but they hide it from their intended spouse because they don't want them to know, so they don't cancel on the marriage. What are your own views on this? Have you experienced this? Do you know anybody who has gone through where they got into a marriage with this kind of deception? You can call us on 081-076-41679, 0902-4163440. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read the tweet. All right, so we're just taking a portion of this lady's story for today's show, because we've seen over the years people have a situation where they were not being truthful. So, for example, you meet somebody, you meet a lady, she's from a very wealthy family, she's well-to-do, you feel that, this is the kind of person that I need to marry, you fall in love with her, and you know she's AS. And if she knows that you're AS, she's likely not going to accept your proposal. And because of that, you hide that information from her. You get into marriage hoping, praying, fasting, scabashing that the child that comes is not going to be SS. So that happens a lot because many of us use faith that don't worry, this one we're just going to use faith. And science have told us that these are the possibilities. It happens.
1 in 4.
1 in 4, right? So you can use your faith. I mean, well, many of us are Christians here. You can use your faith to carry and say, I trust that God is going to give me AS. No doubt. But what if it happens like SS? What then happens? So these are real-life conversations. I would like you to really share your views. Tokwe, want to go again?
I think it's important that people talk about, we have this kind of conversations because some people don't even know what genotype is all about. Majority of people don't know. There was a conversation, a doctor was saying that many years ago, people will say abiku, and they would say the child is, a woman is having children, and the children keep dying, and they tag the woman as having a problem, not realizing the fact that it was genotype related much later. The person was actually AS, and he had many other siblings who died before he came. And it was as a doctor that he realized because he's AS, obviously it means that his parents were also AS, and other siblings that were dying they were SS. So that the ignorance part shouldn't still be a thing anymore. People should get to know their genotype. Being AS is not a crime. It becomes a challenge when you knowingly go and marry someone else who is sharing similar genotype. So I think the first conversation is go and check your genotype, check your blood group, find out what your blood type is. From that point of view, then you are able to get into a relationship with full knowledge. Like I was saying that you don't go and marry without getting into marriage before you know yourself. I think one of the key things you need to know about yourself is your genotype and your blood group. Yeah. That being the basis.
I mean, if you intend to not have children, then it's fine. Knock
Nigeria.
Out. In Nigeria it's unlikely, but some people might decide, we love each other, but we're not going to have children.
Adopt. These are options that people can actually consider.
Because if I decide, I love Miriam so much, I can't do without her, then we have a conversation, no children. Yeah. Like you say, option, we adopt. Because the pain is not just you, the parent, the child that you are bringing to the world. The child will be in pain. Sickle cell is serious. And then 9 times out of 10, the child dies at a young age.
Yeah.
And then you are left mourning. You know, it is a very, very sad, sad situation. You know, I know of many couples that their kids have died because they are SS. You know, and I think maybe hospitals now should actually start to tell parents, are you AS? If you are AS, or check, you are AS, what is your husband? Bring your husband in. Yeah. Terminate the pregnancy.
Eh?
Yes.
Nigeria, don't believe in terminate. Let me come to you.
Yeah, so I know that churches do this.
Counseling, yeah.
Where, beyond counseling, where you have to bring your test results or else they're not going to marry you. And if it's obvious, you know, they would advise against you getting married. Some people, of course, leave the church and decide to go out and get married and pray that hopefully the child will come out without the traits. But for middle-class people that have some money, I think many Nigerians of that caliber are aware of the dangers and also the different options. I have a friend that both she and her husband are AS, and every time she goes to have a baby, they go through a process of making sure that that particular
baby
gender.
Not, yes. Yeah. So they have the resources to do that. But now, talk to many Nigerians, and especially, you know, we have those who are completely illiterate, have not even been to the 4 walls of any schools. And sometimes I feel that, you know, we are doing a good job of talking to those people. But there's this group of Nigerians that I see, and that's where I feel that that's where the most danger is. They speak English, or they speak pidgin English. They seem to be somewhat educated, but they are not informed. And I am saying this because there was a day I went to a shop to get something, and there were these young ladies talking. They were speaking English, and she had a baby, and they had gotten pure water, and they were giving the baby, and they were advising her. So I'm like, these are people that, you know, you think, oh, they should know better. But there is a lack of information amongst many Nigerians. Many of us are semi-literate, you know. We have to do better in informing Nigerians. They have to understand that there are things, we cannot do things just for doing sake anymore. We need to know the information. That
also includes falling in love.
Yes, housewife tales that we tell each other. We need to do more than that. A lot of us are very religious people. Churches need to do more. Mosques need to do more. Our National Orientation Agency needs to do better in that case. Grassroots level, information at the grassroots level also needs to be better. I just think that we need to be better informed as a people.
Yeah.
You know, let me take Feinsola. Thanks. Good morning, Feinsola. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to end the conversation. This is my first time of getting across to you.
Welcome to the show.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm AS, and so is my husband. When I got married, I actually was aware. Okay, I'll celebrate today. I actually was aware that he was AS. So did I. And I did have a friend who was sickle cell, so I actually did know the indication of having a sickle cell child. And what I did was, because you're in love, there's not much you can do, to be honest. And what I did was that there's a test you can get done. There's one you can get done at 12 months, and there's one you can get done at 6 weeks. And there's another one you can get done at 12 weeks to know the genotype of your baby. And it's actually be done in Nigeria now. Okay. So if you want to have a child, you can actually have the figures checked before the baby comes forth. That would, then you can decide whether you want to go on with pregnancy or whether you want to do otherwise.
Right.
That would be your choice.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bello. So technology right now, there are options for the well-informed.
There's a test. Even when I was having Rolari, there was a test you could do to check if your baby was normal. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I know, I've told you about her before. Her and her husband are AS. They terminated like 4. Yeah. They have 2 kids. 4 pregnancies because they did the test and they were...
But they see, so those are scenarios where both parties were aware of the situation and chose to go ahead. What about the scenario where one party, and they had the resources to go ahead, understood the implications of going ahead? What about cases where somebody decides to deceive another person to go into the relationship? Because there are people who feel like, I already love this woman and I'm just going to go ahead. I already love this man. Since he's asking me this question, I would hide it. And it's to remind them to do the research and understand the implications of you going ahead. And then for churches, they make it, you do your test and it is sent to the church. So the churches are aware. You do pregnancy, genotype, and HIV, and they would automatically just send the result to you and to the church. So the church will know where you stand. So there's no deception. I think that people should go and you must get yourself.
But even the deception, I feel, is a small percentage. A lot of people just carelessness. And, you know, so for many pregnancies that happen before a marriage. So, you know, when you do like a proper wedding ceremony, you are likely to sit with counselors. They ask you for results. But there are many relationships where it's quite casual or just it happens. And then you now find that you have a child that has SS without...
Let me take this call from Hassan. Good morning, Hassan. Thanks for calling.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Please, I have two things to talk about the labor and this issue of ASAA. You see, about the labor is this. Labor have to be very, very careful because we have a labor party and we are just out of an election. One thing is very clear. Ajaero Ahmed Tinubu won this election square and fine. So there is no thing about it. Any distraction will not be tolerated by Nigerians. That's my own about labor. And number two, about this ASAA of the king. You see, my advice is to women. The women have to be very, very careful.
Wow.
Why is to be careful is this, is that you see this issue of marriage, do or die affair. In the sense that I must marry this man, I must marry this year, they must take it out of their mindset. Because that is why a lot of people, they marry intentionally. That the product of that marriage is going to be SS. So why doing that? And what is very clear, you see, Yanni has said it all. Look, terminate the pregnancy because you end up having problems left and center, and it will even affect your matrimonial security. Good morning.
I just got a message. Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan. This person said, my niece who came in from the village fell in love with a man in Lagos. And one of the things I asked her to do was do her test before we started the wedding plans. Then we found out that both her and her husband-to-be were ASAs. And I told them we had to break the marriage. The whole family pleaded with me, and I said I wasn't sponsoring the wedding. I told them it couldn't happen. Anyway, so I became the enemy of the family because I insisted the marriage had broken to break up. However, they went ahead with the marriage. Today, they are coming to me to help take care of one of their children who is SS, and I refuse to care for them. But now I have been completely demonized by the entire family, said that I'm a wicked uncle.
We should go back to those
now,
family members. That's the lack of information I was talking about.
Yes.
This one, they give them the information.
You have information now.
But love, that's the thing, love. When you see, we can't really come to, you see, when love overwhelms somebody, that's the truth. Sometimes you're in love, you've planned a wedding.
Yeah. Oh gosh, God bless you. Yes. Because
meaning that
as you are, when you are crying,
those who don't
you are
understand
seeing. You can see. You cannot cry and then you are blinded by your tears.
You planned the wedding. You're already in Lagos for the wedding. So that's where the information comes, where you can then help and know the baby.
To be told is one thing. To understand it is another. To see how it occurs. Yeah, the impact is another thing. It's still the lack of information. It's not really about love. Because if you understand love, maybe the way I do is that you understand that you want the best for each other. And if I feel that this would cause, especially a child that we'll be bringing forth, that we think that's the one that will even show the most love, and we bring a child that has to suffer. Sometimes these people that I see, just take them to the ward, let them stay with these children for a while.
Yes.
I've heard that there are some children that curse their parents for putting them in this situation. So let people understand. For those who make the mistake of they were not aware, that happens. But before then, I feel that you are the only person responsible for what happens to the
society,
child.
in this man's story, the family totally demonized him. They said he didn't want them to get married for whatever reason. So that's a cultural, traditional consideration in this matter.
I've mentioned it when we discussed. Okay.
I have a call. I'll come back to you. Okpara, thanks for calling our final call this morning. Okpara, oh, I'm so sorry for
so sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'd mentioned it before. I know that it was like in the first date or 2 dates with my husband, he asked what my genotype was, and I said I was AA. But it was because he's aware. He knew every relationship before I even start liking you. I must know what your genotype is because I know where I stand. That's why I said the first step is know what your genotype is. And the government might help. There are sickle cell foundations and they support people in getting their test done because sometimes when you calculate, for some people, it's the cost of getting their genotype done that makes them not even think about it. That I don't want to pay the money. Yes, people don't do tests because they don't want to pay. They don't have the money.
How much is what you will pay after?
So, and all those issues. So if we have sickle cell foundations make genotype tests free, and there are laboratories that give wrong genotype, and that is also very important. You go and do your test today, you are AA. You go and do your test tomorrow, you find out you are AS. Our system is not standard enough in many laboratories. So we also need to find a way to create a standardized system of checking blood group and genotype. Such a way that we sue to courts. If you give me wrong genotype and you make me go into a wrong relationship, I'm going to sue you to courts. You know, that kind of thing. That way we would reduce.
I think because, you see, when you take that decision, you are both AS, and you take that decision, you get married. The pain that you see in the future, the money that you will spend, and the worst pain is when you lose that child.
So dreadful. Let me take this call from Bumi.
Even see the child.
Bumi, thanks for calling. You're live.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm calling from Ibadan. I am a mother of an SS.
Okay.
But coincidentally, I will get what Chocolate just said. But at times, medical people are funny. They give you wrong, they will say you are exactly what happened. So by the time I was having my second child, who was my son, we just realized that he was having syndrome, all this, and we were wondering what's happening, and then myself and my husband decided to take him to the clinic. I was also suspecting because my father is a medical doctor, my mother is a child matron, so I'm also a medical, just like a medical child, like a child of parents that are medical person. And then we got to know, and then, there are times that you don't know. That's why I read what Chocolate said last. And then, but you see, now when you are now involved, the thing is, when you are involved, then you have to really, get up in treating the child.
Yeah.
As I'm talking to you, my son was 22 last month.
Oh.
Yeah, so the thing is that even if you have this, a lot of people don't go to hospitals. And that's why I buy the idea of what you people said, the issue of illiteracy, when we don't have information, just like what Miriam said also, and even Auntie also said that. When we don't have information, he's 22, and it's okay. You understand what I'm saying? But what we are doing, I make sure that we go to hospital, we do what we are supposed to do, because that's another thing. Their medications, their whatever. At times we have pain. Just recently, we just noticed almost like a year, 1.5 years, we just got we don't have pain. Yes, we are Christians, we believe in God, and God has actually been taking care of it. It's 400 level. So
Thank you so much, Bumi. Thank you so much, Bumi. So Bumi has told us that there are situations where you have that situation, you have to deal with it. So yes, you're not informed. For whatever circumstance alleges the fact that you have an SS, you're here, it's not the end of the world. You can still raise a wholesome child under the circumstances. You just have to know the right things to do and have the right community to support you in that. So I think that's what we got from Bumi's. Any comments
really,
on social media?
If you are the sort of person that, you would not even get advice or take advice for even going into such a relationship in the first place, would you even be the sort of person that would look for the information to take care of a child that has this, So we need to be careful the way we pick our partners.
She moved to America with her child because she couldn't get
to maintain over there.
Correct treatment here for
Really?
There are foundations. So that's what I was saying. People fund these things. Create a foundation to support sickle cell. Donate to foundations that are already supporting sickle cell. The reason I say it's cheaper over there is because you can always get your drugs from, and I know like 3 families one in Indianapolis, one in Chicago, and one in Atlanta, and I visited the 3 of them. 2 have already done bone marrow transplants, and it was funded by foundation. There are foundations. The drugs that they spend, that these people have to take every day while waiting, is very expensive. They can't afford it, but the foundations support. So when we have foundations, people that have money choose a course and fund it so that Nigerians that have need can go to this foundation and say, I can always, at least just get drugs, so that children can live to 22. Sickle cell people can become adults if only they have access to
their
drugs.
50s. If
Children and grandchildren.
if they are it's well managed, their 50s, they will live above 50.
That is all we can take on today's show. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.